Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the mechanics of the SSH protocol to see exactly how it outsmarts network snoops. If you've ever wondered how the modern internet actually manages to keep server connections completely secure, even when malicious actors are, actively listening in, well, you're in the right place. Let's get right into it.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start by tackling the plain text problem, then introduce our hero, Secure Shell. After that, we'll pop the hood to check out the anatomy of a packet, and finally, wrap things up with some advanced SSH superpowers.
All right, Section 1, the plain text problem, the vulnerability that started it all. So, old network protocols. They were perfectly fine back in the 1970s when telnet was first invented. And honestly, even into the early 90s, this wasn't a massive concern because you're usually just connecting to a remote machine on your exact same local network. But then 1995 hits. A guy named Tatu Ylönen discovers a password sniffer actively running on his Finnish university's network, and that single event proved, without a doubt, that things desperately had to change.
The massive, glaring problem with protocols like telnet and rlogin was that their packets were sent entirely in the clear, literally all plain text. As people started firing more and more connections across the larger internet, anyone listening anywhere between point A and point B could just intercept that data. Imagine typing your root username and password into a critical server, and it just floats across the network completely exposed. Relying on an insecure network like that meant we needed a massive security upgrade and fast.
Which brings us to Section 2. Enter Secure Shell, the hero of data delivery. At its core, SSH, or Secure Shell, acts as a secure, encrypted tunnel right over top of an insecure network. Since we can't physically stop someone from copying our packets and inspecting them as they travel across the web, SSH makes sure that even if adversaries do copy your data, they absolutely cannot see your sensitive credentials. Your usernames, your passwords, all of it is locked down.
Now, an adversary sniffing the network can still see that data is being transmitted. They know you're making an SSH connection, and they can see the frequency of the packets. Think of it exactly like looking out your window and seeing your neighbor getting a bunch of packages delivered. You can speculate, right? Like, oh, maybe they're building a new PC based on the size of those boxes. But you can't actually see inside them. The contents are entirely hidden from view.
So this brings up a fascinating question, shifting us from the why to the how. What exactly does an encrypted packet actually look like? What is inside those boxes?
Let's find out in Section 3, Anatomy of a Packet. Time to pop the hood on SSH.
Before we look at the packet itself, remember that to establish an SSH connection, the machines have to do a little handshake first. First up, you establish a standard TCP connection. Once that's connected, the client and the server negotiate the specific encryption they're going to use. This is actually a great feature because it allows system admins to disable obsolete algorithms. And finally, the process just repeats continuously, sending packets in the exact right order so nothing gets messed up.
Okay, so before it gets encrypted, an individual packet has a very specific plain text structure. First, you've got the packet length, which is exactly 4 bytes. This just tells the system how big the packet is. Next is a 1-byte padding size. Then we have the payload. That's your actual data, and it's often compressed to save precious bandwidth. Right after the payload comes the padding, which is a variable amount of random bytes. And finally, the MAC.
Let's pause on that final component for a second. The MAC, or Message Authentication Code. Sometimes it's just called a tag. This little piece of data is absolutely vital. It serves to validate the authenticity of the whole package. Basically, it acts as mathematical proof to the recipient that absolutely none of the data inside that packet has been tampered with or altered during its journey over the sprawling internet.
Returning to our package analogy for a moment, think of that padding we mentioned as random decoy boxes just left on the porch. Since an adversary can guess what you're doing based on the total amount of data transferring, combining meaningless bytes with the actual payload intentionally makes it much harder for sniffers to infer what's going on. It completely throws off their size estimates.
And here is the ultimate magic of SSH. We've looked at the plain text structure, right? But once that encryption process is applied, look at what happens. Anyone sitting in the middle of the network trying to listen in can only read 2 things, the packet length and that message authentication code. The padding size, the actual payload, and those random padding bytes, all completely hidden away, locked tightly inside the encrypted tunnel.
All right, moving on to Section 4, Advanced SSH Superpowers. Let's look beyond basic encryption. So SSH actually has incredible superpowers beyond just giving you simple command line access. First up is multiplexing. With one single SSH connection to a server, you can open up multiple channels at once. You could literally have one tab downloading data, another tab uploading data, and a third tab where you're using a shell text editor to change configurations or restart services, all happening simultaneously over one secure line. Next is X11 forwarding. If you're in a Linux environment, X11 is the core windowing system. SSH allows you to forward X1, meaning you can run full graphical applications on a remote machine and the visual interface shows up safely right on your local screen. Pretty cool, right? Finally, we have tunneling. You can take a totally separate network service that would normally be completely unencrypted and just route it securely right through your SSH connection. You can even use this tunneling feature to connect to internal services that are hiding safely behind a firewall.
And that wraps up our deep dive into this protocol. We've seen how SSH works, why it had to be created, and how it continues to fiercely protect the backbone of the internet today. But before we go, I want to leave you with this critical question to kind of spark your curiosity. If a single password sniffer on a university network back in 1995 could fundamentally change how the world connects forever, what undiscovered vulnerabilities are hiding in plain sight on our networks today? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the technology you use every single day. See you next time.